I didn't expect a controller under 100 quid or $100 to feel like it could rival my Apex 5. But the ZD Ultimate caught me off guard. On paper, it looks like a knockoff. In hand, it feels like a serious contender. I've spent weeks bouncing between the DualSense Edge, the Elite Series 2 and the Apex 5. I'm very picky about inputs, and I know when something feels right. The ZD Ultimate had me paying attention straight away. Let's start with the build. At a glance, the Ultimate looks almost identical to the Apex 5. Same silhouette, same Xbox style bones. The difference shows up in the details. Instead of a screen, you get a frosted faceplate, translucent buttons, and a heavier dose of RGB. It's got this concept car vibe with modules you can swap and writing etched across the shell. And what's great here is the modularity goes further than just the sticks. You can swap the ABXY buttons, the D-pad, the thumbstick, and even the faceplate. That flexibility puts it in a category of its own. There are no creaks or flex, nothing rattling around, and every input is clicky. Bumpers, triggers, even the D-pad, all micro switch based. The only real downgrade is the grip material. Apex 5 gives you a softer rubber finish, while the Ultimate uses harder plastic. It never slipped out of my hands, but the Apex just feels more premium when you grab it. The weight is nearly identical too, so it sits firmly in the same hefty but solid kind of bracket. But comfort and button reach are where things start to get interesting. In the hand, it feels natural. No surprises there. It's modelled after an Xbox pad, so you can't really go wrong. The paddles and main triggers land where you expect them. What threw me off were the little extras. 2 small buttons beside each stick. Innovative, but to press them, you do have to lift off your thumbs, which kind of kills the point mid-fight. Default use is RGB control, though you can remap them. Another quirk, the extra top buttons sit slightly lower than the Apex 5s. That means reaching over the triggers isn't as smooth. More than once, I found myself hitting a trigger and the extra button at the same time because of the awkward arc. After a short adjustment, my muscle memory kicked in and I forgot I was even testing it. The sticks, though, revealed something bigger about the controller's philosophy. Flexibility matters, but only if you use it. And the sticks did need some tuning before they impressed me. Out of the box, the Hall Effect sticks felt a bit loose, like my aim was floating. Not broken, too light. Thankfully, ZD did send me some tighter modules, and that's the ace up this pad's sleeve. You can physically swap stick modules and pick different resistance levels. I put the tightest one on my right stick for aiming and a medium one on the left for movement. Instantly better. Once set up, they felt accurate, drift-proof, and comfortable for long sessions. Without those upgraded modules though, the defaults wouldn't have cut it for me. It's the first time I've seen a mid-range controller lean into this modular idea, and while it does bump up the cost if you buy extra modules, it still undercuts the big brands by a mile. The triggers, on the other hand, had me smiling from the start. The Ultimate has built in a physical switch on the back that flips the triggers between analog hall sensors and digital micro switches. Analog mode is smooth and full range, perfect for racing. Digital mode turns them into clicky hair triggers that fire instantly in shooters. It's a hardware stop, not a gimmick, which means no accidental overpresses. I actually prefer it over the Apex 5's adaptive triggers, which sometimes fight back when you grip hard and can be pushed through. According to the company, the linear mode engages at 0.1 to 2mm of travel, while the mechanical mode runs at 8.5mm. That means you're not just flipping modes, you're flipping the very physics of how deep or shallow each press is. The only flaw is the toggle itself. It's recessed and fiddly, so swapping modes mid-game is quite awkward, but once set, they're excellent. It's also worth noting how refreshing it feels to have a clear, no-nonsense click-in shooters rather than relying on adaptive tension. Now let's talk about the back paddles and extra inputs. This is where ZD both shines and stumbles. On paper you get 8 extras, 2 paddles, 2 rear buttons, 2 extra shoulders, and those odd front stick adjacent ones. The paddles themselves feel fine once they're in, but clipping them in the first time was nerve-wracking. The plastic felt cheap and the teeth fought me until I forced them in. After that, they held firm and clicked nicely. The rear buttons though, they're positioned too high. My fingers never rest on them, so they went completely unused. If they'd been lower, like where your ring finger naturally sits, it would have been a game changer. As it stands, I stuck to the domed paddles and ignored the back buttons completely. For the price, the sheer number of remappable inputs is impressive. It does make me think about longevity though. those clips don't inspire as much confidence as the sturdier Apex paddles. But let's move on to the face buttons and D-pad. Everything is clicky here. Face buttons, menu buttons, even the D-pad, all mechanical, all responsive. The translucent gloss finish makes them catch the RGB glow nicely, so they look as good as they feel. The cheat sheet claims these ABXY buttons are rated for 100 million presses, and that's believable because they feel rock solid. Another neat feature is that you can swap the ABXY layout between Switch and Xbox style. The D-pad on paper has 90 GF actuation force and 0.8mm travel. The bumpers are clicky too, though the Apex still feels a touch more refined. Nothing on the Ultimate feels mushy, and the consistency goes a long way. The aesthetic bonus is that when it lit up, the white gloss over translucent caps really pops. The rumble though is less dramatic. Despite advertising 6 motors, I didn't notice anything groundbreaking. Rumble felt solid, no dead spots, but the Apex 5 felt more dynamic in how it delivered feedback. Nothing to complain about, nothing to rave about. It does the job. According to ZD, those 6 motors cover the triggers, HD rumble, and grip areas. Sounds fancy, but in my hands it never hit the same highs as the FlyDigi's more dynamic system. What's more important is that the rumble didn't distract me. Some controllers overshoot and make every explosion feel like an earthquake. Here it stayed balanced. The software tells a bigger story though. Instead of PC software, the Ultimate runs everything through a phone app. It feels a little clunky and clearly made with Chinese markets in mind, but it does work. You can remap, adjust stick curves, set dead zones, tune vibration strength, and even mess with the D-pad step size. There are macro options too, though use those carefully because some games will ban you for them. You can also adjust polling rates over the dongle, with mine showing 2000 Hz even though the spec sheet does claim 3000 Hz. I think it's buried in some of the untranslated settings on the phone app, as there is an extra line that's in Chinese, but either way responsiveness felt instant. Profiles can be saved on board and swapped on the fly with those tiny side stick buttons, though I rarely needed it. The fact that you can configure almost everything on D-pad means you don't have to touch the app unless you want deeper tweak. Compared to controllers like Nacon that require a PC app, it's a blessing, and that ties into connectivity. Plug in the dock, drop the dongle in its slot, and it's paired first time. Wireless 2.4 GHz or Bluetooth all worked flawlessly. Latency felt snappy, and though I can't measure the exact numbers, nothing felt sluggish. The dock doubles as a charging stand, and every session ended with me dropping it back on, so I never ran flat. So battery life is a non-issue if you use it this way. The dock itself isn't as flashy as the Apex 5's, but it's neat enough with its blue glow. The ZD also calls out the 1500 mAh battery as temperature controlled, which is a small but reassuring detail if you're worried about longevity or overheating. I'd argue this setup is what makes battery conversations redundant. If your controller always lives on the dock when not in use, you'll never hit zero, which leaves price and value. The ZD Ultimate costs £89 versus the Apex £150, almost half the price. For that you get modular hall sticks, clicky triggers with physical mode switching, 8 extra inputs, and a solid dock. You lose the built-in screen, adaptive triggers, and some of the polish. The fundamentals are strong. I actually prefer its clicky triggers over FlyDigi's adaptive ones, and once I installed the tighter stick modules, it performed brilliantly. The real miss is the back button placement. They're too high to be useful against the domed. If you live for 4 back buttons, this isn't the one. But if you're happy with 2 paddles and value competitive inputs, it's hard to beat for under £100. It's not perfect, but that's the point. Pro controllers at this price are rare, and ones that feel genuinely premium are even rarer. The ZD Ultimate may look like an Apex 5 clone at first glance, but after hours of testing, it proved itself a serious option in my lineup. And when I stack it against my Edge and Elite, it holds its own more often than not. Adding in the specs like the 100 million button lifespan and the full modular approach only strengthens that case. Short answer on whether it's worth it? Absolutely. Bottom line, ZD Ultimate isn't a gimmick. It's a serious pro controller with quirks, but for the money, it punches way above its weight. Final conclusion, it's worth it. If you enjoyed the video, like, sub, or don't. I'm just really glad you made it to the end. Let me know what you think of the controller in the comments below.